goodness.
I was all ready to run the show here.
Well, if you were listening and weren't talking, then you would have heard my spiel. But I don't repeat.
I didn't mean to take away from his valuable time. I was just
You
talking.
got me in trouble,
Started
Jeff.
chatting a little bit.
It's all right. He called me dumb yesterday, so.
No, I did not.
All right, you ready? You ready?
Yep.
All right. Welcome to the Brookfield Select Board meeting for Tuesday, August 4th, 2026 at 6:45. We're at the Brookfield Town Hall in the banquet room. This is a joint meeting with the Board of Assessors. To join via Teams in every.com BRK-SB. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't like this word. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting will be live streamed and recorded. We have no members participating remotely. Agenda. New business, 6:45 Town Administrator Candidate Interview, Andrew Surprise. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. I told Beth that's a pretty lengthy document, so if you want to, peruse it after the fact, that's fine. But
Okay.
it's just my resume, letters of reference, and references, and the letter of interest I provided,
Okay.
and as well as a 90-day plan for my first 90 days should I be appointed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. You just want to go around and ask the questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, take turns.
Sure.
You want to start just so we can go in a row?
Okay.
We'll make it
No,
easier.
that's good, yeah. All right, Andrew, welcome. We had I think we have, is it 9 or just 7? Oh, we have 10 questions for you.
Okay.
I'll start with the first one. Please introduce yourself and tell us what your skills are and experience, what you would bring to Brookfield as a town administrator, and how that sets you apart from the other applicants.
Sure. My name is Andrew Surprise. I have a young family. My fiance works for BHN as a mental health clinician and clinical supervisor. I have a 4-year-old son. I used to run the Quabog Hills Chamber of Commerce, so I'm very familiar with Brookfield and the surrounding communities. I know the issues that you deal with, and I know the economic development possibilities for the region while keeping the character of the town. My skill set is I've been an executive for multiple organizations that were, let's just say, they were in transition and needed assistance. And that included everything from rebuilding boards and committees to recruiting members to revitalizing programs and finances. I also have extensive experience in communications. I was a political consultant and public affairs consultant for over 16 years now. I still do that part-time. And I've also been an elected city councilor in Westfield, Massachusetts, where I served as government relations chair, served on finance committee. And I would say the biggest infrastructure project I ever worked on was dealing with PFAS contamination of our water wells. And that included advocating with state, local, and federal agencies, as well as legislators, to get a change in federal law that allowed National Guard bases to receive Department of Defense environmental remediation funding, because prior to that, they had not allowed that. We're successful in doing that in 2020, and Westfield received the first payment of $1.35 million. Also, I've worked on the boards of numerous nonprofits, currently the Connecticut Arts Alliance, and I am a big advocate of arts and culture and helping to revitalize communities, especially downtowns. And so I bring a wide variety of skills that I think are directly applicable to the role and translate exactly.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, number two, one of the challenges of working in a small community is limited resources and staff. Please describe your approach to the position, understanding your duties include a wide range of responsibilities such as acting as the CFO, procurement, HR, oversight of departments, liaison with all elected and appointed boards. In addition to your work for the select board, how would you approach that role?
Well, if you look at my record as Westfield City Councilor, I never voted for one tax increase. And the reason for that was because I could see that there was a lot of waste in Westfield, and money wasn't being spent where it was supposed to be spent. For example, we used Chapter 90 funding to build our rail trail. We used $4.5 million of Chapter 90 money when the money could have been coming out of community preservation funding. And so for me, a big issue is to always make sure that the money is coming out of the right pots and being spent on the right items. I served on the finance committee, managed $130 million budget. And in that, met with department heads, did reviews of all of the spending, made recommendations for cuts, went with the knowledge that the department head was able to manage the cut for that year. So if, for example, a program was delayed or grant funding was not available at that time, it could be delayed, and matching funding may not necessarily be needed at that time. And so I'm very diligent in making sure that you're only spending what you need to spend. And it was the same for chambers of commerce. I've built budgets from ground up. And I know that you're looking at doing zero-based budgeting next year. That's something that I tried to bring to Westfield, doing a zero-based budget for a third of the departments every third year, and also being very transparent, because I find that transparency avoids issues, especially with small towns and dealing with town meeting. So you want to just make sure everything is public and you're explaining everything to the public. And in addition to dealing with department heads, I think I put it in the 90-day plan, but I would be looking at doing on a biweekly basis on the off weeks, the select board off weeks, I'd be looking at doing a roundtable with department heads every other week, just to ensure that everybody's on the same page and we're all rowing the same direction. That way I can keep you informed as well.
Thank you. So right now, the town is actively recruiting for a new highway superintendent and currently has just one employee in the department. Realizing that winter is never too far away, how would you work to support the department and ensure that the town is ready to carry out its functions as soon as possible?
Well, ensuring that we have a timeline of all the programs and projects that are currently happening. That's also in the 90-day plan. So just making sure that the funding is in place and available. The people that we're hiring, obviously, we hire the most qualified people as possible. And that if they're not qualified and they need licensure or some form of training, that they get that immediately, so that there are no delays or as few as possible. And then I would also ensure that whoever the department head ends up being, because I know you're currently in the search for a department head as well, can provide a list of the things that they want to work on immediately, things that are critical, the things that are timely. So if matching grant funding is coming in and needs to be spent in a certain time frame, then those projects are pushed to the fore.
I do want to do a quick follow-up
Sure.
on that. What has worked for you in the past relative to you mentioned in your opening when you introduced yourself
Mhm.
that you've done a lot of rebuilding of boards and departments and such. What is your approach to trying to rebuild a department like that? Because I hear what you're saying about the prioritization and all of that, but what does hiring look like when you're one of the people leading the charge on the hiring?
Well, in Westfield, we operate on, I'll get to the chamber translation in a moment, but in Westfield, we operate under a weak mayor strong council form of government. And the council was responsible for financial appointments. So I've served on hiring committees for treasurer, auditor. So I'm very familiar with the process. What I look for is to figure out first, what are the critical components that are needed in the department? What's the experience that's needed? What do we have already? And then what are the goals? So working with the select board, working with staff that you already have in place, and reaching out honestly to surrounding communities to see what works best for them. Then taking those into account, putting together a hiring process to try to find someone that can meet all those criteria, or as many as possible. With boards and committees on a chamber, it's a little bit different. What you do is you look to find, and you do this with departments as well, but you look to find the skill sets that you need to fill the holes that you need, specifically for either the committee type or the programming that you want to run. So you're looking for people that have experience in those types of positions.
Thank you.
I have a small follow-up on question 1 before we get to number 4, where you brought it up regarding using chapter 90 money for the trail system that you did. How do you feel about using chapter 90 money on a regular basis for projects like that versus the public ways in the community?
I'm not in favor of using chapter 90 money for anything aside from roads and sidewalks, bridges and the like. Anything that is critical infrastructure, that's where it should be going, especially when you have a limited amount and you have a limited tax base. And that's a really big issue. I'm not an advocate of raising taxes ever when it's possible not to do that. But your community could look at implementing CPA. You'd have to get it through town meeting. You'd have to advocate for that. I know you did try in the past. But there's that funding for rail trails, which are considered linear parks, and for other public infrastructure, historical restoration, and things of the like. But I would not push to use Chapter 90 funding for anything other than road and sidewalk infrastructure.
Good answer, because I feel the same way. I feel like we're not getting enough money on an annual basis to keep the roads up. And if we take away from it to purchase equipment or anything else. Okay. Well, thank you. Number 4, describe your approach to working with the select board in terms of effective communication. Do you have any particular strategies or guidelines for promoting the effectiveness of the elected board?
Sure. I think it's something that came up in the town administrator search committee discussion. And we were talking about ensuring it's not just for the select board, but it's for all town committees, ensuring that everybody knows what their actual role is and what they're supposed to be doing, and that they've done all the trainings that the state requires, because from my understanding, there's some people that may not done that. And that can cause legal issues later on. And so the other thing is just to hold regular meetings, and, it's in the 90-day plans, which is why I provided to you, because I can't get everything out in this one interview, but is ensuring that we're all on the same page and you should know at the end of every week what it is I'm currently working on and what it is that I'm going to be working on in the following week. And whether that's through a quick email to you or a regular communication that I provide to the select board. I have to watch out for open meeting law, so I can't send it to you all at the same time. It had to be individually. But ensuring that you know what I'm working on and I know what your expectations are, not just for that week, but also for the role in general.
Thank you.
Number 5, I'm kind of gonna shorten a little, I guess, but Brookfield has managed by dedicated volunteers throughout its history until establishing the town administrator role a few years ago. In some cases, the responsibilities assigned to the TA by job description are carried out by others. How would you approach shifting that work to your position? I'll give you an example. Right now, Lori, our town accountant, she is currently the finance director. She took on that role to kind of get the budget done. But eventually we would like to see that go back to the town administrator. So just as an example to use.
Well, I think the first thing would be, I don't want to take on new responsibilities I get, uh, before I get, oriented, within the position. But then looking at what other, positions are currently doing that could be taken on by the town administrator, and maybe some of the things that town administrator is doing that should be done by a different department. Certainly that's, a review that you can do. And I would say probably that's something that you want to look at doing after 90 days, not within the first 90 days. I think that's really about, ensuring a smooth transition and really getting oriented. And I mean, it's fortunate that I know everybody in the region, including legislators, so it won't be a stretch for me to work with them. But for local, needs for department heads, local committees, making sure that we're all on the same page. I know what every committee is doing.
Okay. So can you describe to me a time, like people come into interviews wanting to put their best foot forward, and I
Mhm.
totally respect that. But can you describe a time when you made what seemed like a good decision or took what seemed like a good approach
Mhm.
and whatever you were doing went sideways? How did you recover? What'd you learn from it? And how did it potentially change how you approach things now?
Sure. I have a really good answer for that. So, when I was at the Quabog Hills Chamber, they did, when I'd started, they had forever been doing, sponsorships via events. So they were scrambling every time they did an event to get, sponsorship for the event in order to cover the cost of the event and make money for the chamber. I implemented an annual sponsorship program, that provided an array of benefits for the sponsors, and we were able to recruit, I think half a dozen sponsors in the first year, and I think a few more in the second year, um, to be able to, have funding in hand at the beginning of the fiscal year in order to be able to, plan out the year ahead of time, which is always a benefit. Um, when I went to the Windsor Chamber of Commerce, they saw what I did at Quabog and they asked me to do the same thing. What I didn't take into account when I implemented the sponsorship program in Windsor was that 2/3 of their, businesses were very small businesses, and we're talking about 1 to 4 employees. And Quabog, because it was a regional chamber and because we had a lot of financial institutions, some large manufacturers and some banks, not banks, insurance agencies, we were able to bring in a lot more revenue. It didn't work quite as well as I would have liked the first year. I think we only brought in about $3,000 in funding in the first year. So what I did is I reached out to, just to give you an idea where Windsor is, if you're not familiar, it's the northern border of Hartford. So there are a lot of national, international, and regional, very large companies in Windsor and around in the region. And so I reached out to C-suite executives, reached out to HR departments when I couldn't get into the C-suite, just to see what would it take to get them to become members? What kind of programming would the chamber offer that would be beneficial for them? And so the common answer I was getting from almost every business that I talked to was we need a skilled workforce. And we need people that know how to work when they come into the workplace that are not, to be kind to younger people, that are not, socially awkward. And so I reached out actually to one of my former board members in Quabog, to get some information, a couple of them actually, about doing a program like that, because there are programs like that here. And I brought that information and some general ideas and a kind of a roadmap to the superintendent in Windsor, got his buy-in for it, got the town manager's buy-in, got the town council's buy-in, actually got grant funding to seed the program, and recruited, I think in the first year, over a dozen members, including Amazon, Niagara Water, who else? Bradley International Airport, Southern New England Healthcare, American Eagle Credit Union. So a lot of very large businesses who brought in revenue, larger revenue for the chamber just because they were large businesses, but also they became sponsors of the chamber annually, as well as the program, in addition to the grant funding that we brought in. And so that is what actually saved that chamber. And so that's how I pivoted, and how I resolved the issue.
Thank Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Sometimes we hear frustration from residents that local government should be running more like a business in terms of being cost effective, particularly when tax base mostly residential. Please share any strategies or programs you've managed or would propose to work in this direction.
So one thing that I did introduce and was able to get passed through city council in Westfield was subscribing to MGL Chapter 40, Section 5B. And so that's road and sidewalk. It's dedicated stabilization funding. And so we dedicate it to road and sidewalk repair. And with that, you would have to have, you could put money into the fund, just in general, you can transfer funding into there. But you can create steady revenue streams. So if you have local excise taxes for, say, hotels or meals or marijuana, if you did marijuana, you can do 25% or more dedicating a revenue stream to that fund. And you can use that fund, I think it's locked in for 3 years for the specific purpose of that fund. It can be moved with, I think, a supermajority vote of the governing body. And the money can be moved in case of emergency. But the good thing about that is then the money is there. It's dedicated to the purpose that you need it for. So, for example, if you had the need for a new fire truck or an ambulance, you could create a stabilization fund specifically for that. I always tried to work with DLS doing community compact best practices. And so that's something that I would try to do here.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Number 8, why are you interested in working for our community? If you were chosen, what type of commitment are you willing to make in terms of how long you would work for the town of Brookfield?
Well, the reason I applied for the role, and I actually applied before you hired the last interim, I think. And the reason I applied is because I actually love Brookfield and I love the region. I've been trying to find a way that I could get back into the region. And for the longest time, I have been considering town administration. You can see on my resume, I actually have done some of the MCPPO training, and I'm willing to complete that should I be offered the role. But I have a love for the region. I know the issues the region faces. I spend a lot of time here with my family, and I can commit to, well, I mean, I can't honestly make a commitment without actually having been offered the job and knowing what the contract long-term is going to be. But I'm looking for I'm looking for stability. I'm looking to exit consulting work. I'm looking for stability for my family. I know that you're looking for stability for the town administrator role. And so I think our interests are aligned. And as I said, I know the region. I know everybody in the region. I know the legislators. I know Ann Goby very well. So I don't know just people in Boston, though I do know people in Boston. I know people here, and I know the issues that you face.
Beth, do you mind if I just ask just a one-line question, follow-up on that?
Sure.
Where it's your turn. So do you have any interest in moving to Brookfield?
It's actually, you'll see it in that packet, but yes, we're open to relocating. I can't specifically say Brookfield because limited housing stock, but certainly to the region.
Okay.
We are open to doing that.
All right. Thank you.
Sarah knows a place.
As long as it's not too much of a fixer-upper.
Okay. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask us about the position, the community, next steps?
Well, I mean, I guess I know, again, I know a lot about the community, and I've done a lot of research, and I know all the things that you're dealing with. But what would you say is kind of the biggest issues that you've dealt with the people that have held the town administrator role in the past, or that they've had to deal with select board members? Maybe communication, or trying to get everybody on the same page, or identifying what the goals are for the community. What are each of your opinions on that?
You guys are all looking at me.
You go
Well, it was
first.
it was your
You go
question,
first,
Yeah.
I'll answer from my perspective
Fair enough.
after you're done.
So I would say that anybody that has eyes and has watched the videos knows that we're a pretty diverse board with a lot of different opinions about what direction that we need to go. But I think the commonality is that what underlies most of those disagreements is good intent.
Mhm.
I would say one of the biggest challenges is that good intent or that can turn into hyper focus on a particular issue. And that tunnel vision by any member of the board can result in bruised feelings. We are all people.
Mhm.
People are complicated.
Yes.
So, but I think I think the things that we share is that we want the roads to be well maintained. We want the schools to remain highly reputable and of high quality to encourage people to make their home here on a regular basis. I think we want to treat the employees fairly. I think we want to provide a professional environment for people to work in. I think they should come to work and feel valued well and treated well. I think sometimes what that looks like in different people's minds might differ somewhat.
Mhm.
Right? I think one of the places where we need to work on having a common expectation as a board is what's the level of engagement where by individual members of the board versus acting as a board. I think one of our biggest challenges has been a perception that in various topics, any one of us has operated more independently or counterwise to what was previously voted as a board. And I think that's one of the main roles of the town administrators, to keep us honest on only making the decisions that are appropriate for us to make when we make them, and I think the biggest challenge initially will be establishing that line between, I was recently introduced to the phrase day government versus night government, right? So we're supposed to be a policy board.
Yep.
A number of us are more hands-on than that. I think that one of the goals of the town administrator is to peel our cold, dead hands off of the day-to-day and to establish themselves as being that focal point for the town. And that will save others from whiplash where we don't always align on intent, and force us in the meetings to make those decisions about what the direction is, so that then you can drive down the road and make sure that that vision happens.
Yeah, I think one of the difficulties, especially with such a small board, is that, well, not only quorums, but it's that
Too.
you can't meet to talk about things outside of public scrutiny. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the roles that the town administrator would play, is meeting with each individual and ensuring that everybody is on the same page and knows everything that's going on. As well as having the information when you are in public meetings. I don't want to say acting as a shield, but ensuring that if you have an irate resident, you have the correct information, because they may not have it. And that happens often on social media, you know? So I understand that completely.
I'm sure you all might have stuff to
So
add.
for me, the challenge that you're gonna have, from my perspective, is gonna be the right amount of communication.
Mhm.
The right amount, but not breaking the open meeting law. The open meeting law, you hit on that. It's so brutal. That's something that should be so simple for the three of us to be able to make a quick comment on and have you point you in the right direction. We can't do. And so it's extremely challenging. And for you to be able to effectively communicate with us, to let you know, without the serial communication, that is essentially breaking the open meeting law as well. So I think communication is probably going to be your biggest challenge. And if you're really well at that, I think we're going to do really well. And I think I want to expand on what Beth said. I don't know if she was specifically talking about me, about when I'm when I get tunnel vision on something and
Oh, no, I
and
was
I'm-
not pointing
but
out
I-
only you.
But it's accurate. If it
Right.
was, it's accurate, right?
'Cause
So
I've
in
been
the
guilty as
past,
charged as
yeah,
well. so-
yeah. So in the past, when I focus on something and I believe in it, I really focus on it. But in the last 2.5 years, I've grown tremendously to where I'm at now. I've ratcheted it down. So as long as you keep your mind open and take each situation as it comes, and you'll grow in time with the position. And I think that as long as, I guess, if you can meet every example with an open mind and then make the decision, I think you'll do well here.
One thing, I think the ultimate decision is with you. So really, I think my perception of the role is to manage,
Mhm.
be a manager as opposed to a policy setting executive, and providing you as much information, options and recommendations as I can,
Yeah.
and letting you set the policy. And I think that's sometimes, people misunderstand the difference between a town administrator, a town manager, or a mayor. And so it's a very different role, and people are not used to that.
Yep. All right.
I would have to agree. I was gonna say communication is probably the number one thing that you're gonna have a challenge with. Not saying you particularly, but anybody that is gonna be the town administrator. It's hard. I work for a town, so I feel like my perspective has changed a little bit, or I try to change about how I kind of would want to be treated as an employee
Mhm.
by my board. So I feel like the town administrator is supposed to do the day to day. Of course, I want to know what's going on, and I want there to be communication. I want to know that the chief just went back to midnight shifts and things like that. And
Critical things.
yeah, but I don't want necessarily to make the day-to-day decisions, if that makes sense. I
Absolutely.
feel like that should be up to the TA, and I do have to say a thanks to Blythe. I feel like she's done kind of a good job.
Striking the balance.
Of really kind of striking the balance over there. Of kind of, I mean, she sends us the weekly update and kind of tries to keep us all in communication, but she's still doing things on her own, if that makes sense. And I kind of want that to be the future TA, to be able to make decisions on their own, but still give us the communication behind it.
So what I would say to that is, the executive director or chamber executive role is actually very similar to the responsibilities of the town administrator, in that I don't set the policy. I bring the ideas, the programs, the agenda to the board, and recommendations, as much information as I can, and let them set policy. And then I manage the day-to-day of the chamber. So I'm very familiar with that process and that role. Creating a strategic plan or goal setting, I think it's in the 90-day plan, but it's something that will be something that I would want to do almost immediately, so that we can actually create a goal for the year. And then, other than that, I mean, I've been wanting to get back into the region. I've applied to Brookfield a few times, for the TA role. I would love to come and work for you. I love the community. We announced my son's pregnancy, my fiance's pregnancy at Oakham. Our first day trip was to Brookfield, to White's Landing, after he was born. We love the region and we love Brookfield, and that's one of the reasons that I want to be here.
All right. I feel like I'd like to substitute this last question, but I'll just go with it. Do you have any other, I feel like you've pretty much already answered this, but do you have any other closing remarks that you would like to make?
I think kind of that packet will explain everything, among the reasons that I think I'm really a good fit for the role, as well as what my plans would be after consulting with the board, because there's some things that are going to change after the select board provide some input on what they think have been issues in the past, as well as what they'd like to see goals for the community. I think one of the things, just because from my background, and I'm very interested always in economic development, not just in chamber aspects, but from my time on city council, because businesses bring in, a lot more tax revenue that can take, some weight off the back of residents. And so my question would be, without affecting necessarily the character of the town, because I know that is a big issue for this community as well as a lot of the communities in the region. What are some of the economic development projects that you would like to see the town working on?
Can I take that one? Or do you have something? Because
We're gonna
Well,
let,
we'll let Beth
Yeah,
go with
let
it,
her
but I'd
answer
like to
first.
do a
Okay.
little follow-up as well.
So I think the redevelopment of the former Garrett, Gabbett Wire Company
Mhm.
would be probably one of our number one economic priorities for the downtown area.
Okay.
So, and I'd say the secondary thing that there's been a lot of desire around is finding the right, whether it's through public-private partnership, whether it's through incentivizing it, finding a way for more people to age in place in Brookfield,
Mhm.
because we are skewing older, and don't necessarily have the appropriate services. And I'd say the third thing is there's currently some regional partnerships around providing more accessible medical care in the area. And that would be another, I would say, industry that I think Brookfield is really primed to be the receiving point for. I think if carefully planned, any one of those could be a real boom for the area and for the tax base.
Okay.
So we struggle without having town sewer,
Mhm.
zero town sewer. And we've done surveys in the past, I think 20, 25 years ago, 50 years ago, and it's never really come to fruition. Our tax base on businesses is basically the same as residential, so there's no real lift off the residents. The only lift is that there's not any kid going to school from the business or so. But anytime I've seen a business that wanted to take off in Brookfield, for the most part, the abutters have all kind of come out to try to stop it because no one wants it near their house. What are your thoughts on something like that?
Well, I mean, I would just say that I think there is a lift off the residents because it does bring in more tax revenue regardless of if you have, a single tax rate versus a dual tax rate. So there's that, but also I would say that the biggest way to avoid issues with residents is just to have community meetings, explain the issues to them, explain, why it's a good idea to bring in some business, and then try to find businesses that fit the role, the character of the community and the location that they're going. I mean, one of the big issues, one of the big industries in the region is tourism, and it's very. I tried to do a lot about it when I was in the chamber of marketing the region as a region because each individual town has something to offer, but it may not necessarily be an attraction in and of itself. And so I think we're reaching out to both the chamber, which I obviously have connections with, but all of the economic development agencies in the region, QVCDC, all the planning commission, Central Mass, Pioneer Valley. I would work with Mass Office of Economic Development. I know Kevin Corals very well. And so I would work with them to try to find funding to provide marketing, as well as one of the things that I did at the Quabog Chamber was develop an agritourism grant program to help agritourism types of businesses. So we're talking about breweries, wineries, farm stores, sugar houses, even wedding venues, things of that nature, to be able to do facilities expansions, to be able to do marketing campaigns. And so one of my main goals would be to try to drive that industry because I think it's a big benefit and it's a little impact. And there's a lot to, like White's Landing, for example, Alcombe Brewery. Those are two huge attractions that I don't think outside of the region get a lot of notice. And there's 250,000 people every year that are coming to Brookfield. There's no reason they can't come up here.
Good.
You're good? All right, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time, and I don't think I have any other questions other than when are you looking to make a decision?
ASAP.
Yeah, right, it's on the
Okay.
agenda for, I just wanted, that's why I looked at you.
It's on the agenda for
It's
tomorrow
on the
night.
agenda for tomorrow
All
night. We have 3 more interviews to do, or 2 more interviews to do, so we're hopefully making our decision tomorrow night.
I appreciate it. I
Just so
appreciate the
you know,
opportunity.
one of the 4 candidates had emailed today that he's dropped out, so it's down to 3.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that. Thank you. And my phone number is probably on every document in that, so
Okay.
you've got it. Feel free to call or text. So,
All right,
Thank
all
you
right.
so
And
much.
reach
Thank
out
you.
to Karen if you have any questions in the meantime.
All right,
Thank you, Andrew.
thank you.
Appreciate
Nice
you
to meet
coming in. Seeing him.
Nice to meet you, thank you. All right, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
One more at 7:45.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I live
Yeah,
around,
5 to 10.
I live in Enfield, but it's about
I'm not trying to
45
be
minutes,
Yeah.
so it's not bad.
Same.
But I
5 to 10.
actually would, if you did offer me the role, I
How do
would
you come
want to.
down, like 84 or 91 to?
Actually, it's pretty much equal
Same
time,
way, right?
whether I go the back roads up through like Munson
Oh, yeah,
or
and it's
if I,
nice to ride,
yeah,
Where are you coming from?
Enfield. So it's like 45 minutes no
Yeah,
matter
either
what.
way.
Yeah,
I used to be a supplier development engineer and I used to have to go down to that area.
There's a Costco. Is it Costco?
yeah, Costco.
Yeah, Costco there.
Yeah, but I would want to probably move to the region like within that year, the first year. I just have to fix a few things in my house and get on the market. So we've already talked about that. So, but I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. See ya. At least I'm not that bad, Jake. I got my ringer off.
Listen, we're a movie theater. Silence your phones over there.
You can't even hear
He
you.
can't even hear me. He probably can, just choosing to ignore me.
Left field.
You know, you can always start a meeting late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just saying that because of the question in the email about what do we want to do about the time.
Oh, yeah, you
6 PM is like way too early for me most days.
Yeah, that's way too early. And what, it doesn't start till something time, right? Tomorrow? I think-
6 PM was.
So
supposed to be
there is
the time
nobody in the
this week.
teams, but it's gonna keep running. I do have to leave.
That's a lot.
Well, I'll monitor. So I'll make sure I keep constant
Thanks,
supervision.
Jake.
All right, thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Jake.
Good luck. Thanks.
See you later. Next guy use it. Just like that.
I think what we could do is just put up on the website that we're not starting until the 7 PM presentation of the hazard mitigation.
You mean
Yeah,
tomorrow
for
night?
tomorrow.
Yeah.
7
Instead of trying to start at 6.
at 6. And you can start a meeting late. Just can't start early.
So I can stay at work a few minutes longer.
Aren't you lucky?
Ooh.
Likewise.
I do feel lucky.
I'll be able to go to Rutland and back. Brooke's going to Georgia on Thursday for
She's
the
what?
weekend. Brooke is going to Georgia
Oh,
on
nice.
Thursday. Dan said I booked her a first class ticket.
Wow.
The little, the little brat. All right, I'm gonna go ask him if he's ready. Is that okay with you?
I gotta compliment Blythe on the questions and how appropriate the way you had it start, Sarah. Did you do that on purpose? Cause Beth got to ask her all favorite question.
I think she planned it. when she said she
She definitely planned it.
No one would know these were prepared ahead of time by someone else based on the way it went, right? That's with your question. That's your go-to.
I have like 3 go-to.
Oh, thank you.
Nights and stuff.
you doing?
How are you? Good, how are you? Charlie Kokoris.
Nice to meet you, Charlie. Rich Jake.
Yeah, again, yeah. That's awesome.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, please.
I have a couple of things to go over.
He had to
Had
leave.
go, yeah, he had to leave. He's,
Is the thing still on?
yeah,
Still
he's
running.
watching virtually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's good.
He's
Still
good.
trying to figure out how to hook in. I have to wait for the thing to actually, be done, and I go on to YouTube to find it the next day, just like, if I can't, I haven't figured out how to get in. live.
Go into the Teams link?
Huh?
Get into the Teams link?
I don't know
Simple.
whatever it is.
Yeah, the link,
It's,
yeah.
it's actually
right
in
there.
the agendas now.
Yeah. I had Jake start putting it in to make it easier.
You can just click on it from the agenda from My Town Government.
That was close.
Really?
You hit me.
I'll try that.
Great, thank
I'm gonna
you.
try that.
Yeah, I had him start putting the link. It's just easier.
I mean, I'm so nervous about spam and all that stuff that comes, viruses and stuff. That it's not good. No, I mean, true.
I know. I get emails all the time at work.
I've been having a conversation with Michelle, and then the computer starts talking to me. I mean, it's like, I feel like I'm,
I have to call my daughter to ask her if I can open this one, right?
My mom
my
was the same.
granddaughter, knows quite a bit. My 2.5-year-old, she's a little younger than Brooke, she
Yeah.
can use a phone.
Oh, yeah, Brooke, she types in her own password in the
amazing.
iPad.
I don't think
yeah.
my daughter was 2 using an iPad. Playing games on an iPad. It's crazy how quick kids learn.
Yeah, it's
It's
great.
amazing.
Yeah.
Should have like a phone call still.
I can't even use the remote for a TV.
Yeah, but ask him to
You
use
don't
it.
want a TV.
Ask him to
I
use
don't
an
have a
atlas and
TV.
they're done.
All right.
Remember the AAA troop kits, the.
Yeah.
I still love those. I love those.
All right, Charlie, are you ready? Start
ready.
whenever, or
I'm ready.
this one, no, Rich is gonna start. I forgot your name. Sorry, Rich. Rich is gonna start asking the questions.
That one.
After a
That
while,
over
you don't
there.
even think about taking it personal. It's just their personality. All right, Charlie, well, nice to meet you and thank you for
See you.
coming in this evening. So the first question is, please introduce yourself and tell us what skills and experience you bring to Brookfield as a town administrator and how that sets you apart from your other applicants.
Okay. Well, first of all, I spent pretty much 30 years of my life in municipal government, just like Brookfield's government here. And the difference really is that, obviously I was mayor. I don't know if any of the other candidates served as mayor, but of Braintree. But I also served on the select board, and I did 2 terms as chair and served on just about every board, actually every board that we had, other than the school committee until I became mayor. And then I was part of the school committee. So understanding the collaboration that needs to happen in the government in Braintree, one of the reasons we went to a mayor form of government is because we had an urban setting and we really needed to have one person at the helm. So it works. This form of government works great in towns, but once you get to the craziness of Braintree, Mass, we needed to go to a mayor. But I understand from firsthand perspective, which most town administrators probably don't serve as select board members. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I've served both in the city form of government, town form of government, and understand the importance of the collaboration between boards, even if they're individually elected. So I think that that's just one piece that kind of separates me from other town administrators, but also the fact that I've, served on these boards and understand what it's like in every aspect of government within town government. So those are just some of the differences, I think, aside from, having to run a town with 40,000 people, about 150,000 during the day, water supply system, our own treatment plant, and a number of other things. So I think that in my last position, the buck stopped with me, and I understand that this position, as town administrator, is an advisory position, and I respect that, and I understand it because of my years on the select board. So I think that I'm prepared to do the job and understand what's necessary.
Okay. Thank you.
Second question, one of the challenges of working in a small community is limited resources and staff. Please describe your approach to the position, understanding your duties include a wide range of responsibilities, such as HR, procurement, oversight of the departments, etc.
In my last role, I was responsible for pretty much everything, but did have a number of employees that handled those particular roles. So I do understand the direct contact that I would have with the employees, which I kind of did. I was more of a hands-on type person. So, we had a number of critical incidents. I was at each and every one of them. But more importantly, employee matters. I was very much involved in them, mainly because I knew a lot of the people over the years, having been in the town for so long. So I think that, understanding outcomes that have happened and experiences that I've had, it makes me well versed in understanding how to handle situations as they arise, and make sure that we maintain civility and calmness. And I think that's probably my greatest trait is just that every time crazy things happen, I got calmer, because it's the only thing you can do. And you got to make sure that you lead others. And if I had to go shovel the steps, that's something that I would just do, because I think you have to lead by example too. So.
Good answer.
Good answer.
So the town is actively recruiting for a new highway superintendent and currently has just one employee in the department. Realizing that winter is not too far away, how would you work to support the department and ensure that the town is ready to carry out its functions as soon as possible?
Well, that is definitely a challenge, not having the staff in place. And I think that, there would be, it would be a extremely big effort on my behalf to fill those positions. And, it's funny, during COVID, we went through the same problem. We lost personnel because we weren't paying enough money, and people with CDLs went elsewhere. So, we set up a program where we actually brought people through that didn't have CDLs, that were temporary part-time people. So, I mean, to address it immediately, I think that would be the first thing. We used to have a casual employee, we called them, because all those positions were union. But I think that would be the first and foremost thing, is to get those individuals into the positions. If the requirement was to have a CDL, I think that was something that I would work towards, finding people with CDLs, but at least getting people into a pathway to get a CDL. There's a lot of things that can be done, labor items that can be done by non-CDL drivers, if you have someone that can drive the equipment and bring the equipment wherever it needs to go. So I think that was a solution we had before. It would be a solution that I would look into. But, absolutely go to schools and everywhere I could, and look at the regional folks in the area and see where there are folks that we can draw from. So.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Describe your approach to working with the select board in terms of effective communication. And do you have any particular strategies for guidelines for promoting the effectiveness of the elected board?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having been elected to many different positions, it's important, especially you being the executive board of this town, to make sure that you guys are front and center and all the great things that you're accomplishing are noticed by the public and they understand what communication is key. And I think that my communication with you, you knowing the day-to-day things that are happening and not being surprised by something, and having a relationship with the public, and I can be that liaison with the public to make sure that they understand the great work that you're doing. And if there's any issues that the public has, positive or negative, that feedback would come through me to you. And I think that that is a very important part of my role, because ultimately you're the hiring authority, and you folks are doing the great work, and you need to have the support staff from someone like myself to make sure that people are aware of the things that are happening. So really making sure that all that information gets out to the public, however we do it. Obviously, Facebook and social media and all these other things are great assets and very much free. But I would definitely be in the community, being that liaison between the board and the residents.
Thank you.
Number 5. Right now, currently, the responsibilities assigned to the TA by job description are being carried out by others. How to approach shifting that work to your position while still utilizing and valuing some of the volunteers. An example I used was, right now, our town accountant, Lori, she became the finance director to get us through the budget, to kind of see that responsibility, but eventually we would like it to go back to the TA. Of course, not right away, but just to give you an example to use.
Yeah, I think that, you know, it's important that all of these things are brought back into the town administrator role, so that as the budget is put together, you know all of the different aspects of it and what the challenges are. And the only way that happens is if everything is brought back under the TA. So as far as the budget goes, I you know, had to put together budgets for a number of years. And, you know, obviously you guys put the numbers together and present it to town meeting, whether it's your budget or someone else's. So it's very important for you to understand and have that data available. As far as any other areas of town, I know there's some areas that don't necessarily fall under the jurisdiction of the town administrator or the board, but you know, the water board, et cetera. I mean, those are areas that have expertise in, and would definitely learn all the ins and outs of what's going on there and try to come up with solutions. So, I mean, we have a regional treatment plant that's operational as of like last month. And that was something that culminated before I was on the select board, when I was water and sewer commissioner. And the idea came in, we got some grant money, we started toying with it, and eventually, as a counselor, I got to approve that change, and then as mayor, I got to be the one that initiated the actual project. So I think that everything that happens in this town really is the responsibility for the town administrator to at least know what's going on and communicate that information to you.
So would you mind describing to me a time when you made what you thought was a really good decision or took what you thought was the right approach to a problem and something went sideways? How'd you recover? What steps did you take? Who'd you have to reach out to? How did you do it different the next time?
Well, let's see. There's probably a long list of things there over the years, my lord. I will tell you that, like, there were many times that we maybe gave responsibility to folks that we thought could do the job. And you know, we put people in a position and unfortunately, and I won't get into details because,
That's
you
fine.
know, it's
Yeah, yeah.
employee matters, so, but, you know, put them in a position and, you know, they didn't rise to the top and they didn't succeed, but we were able to, fortunately, we were able to work through it and eventually correct it and make sure that, you know, one of the cases I had to actually, I was in charge of the police department and had to demote a sergeant to patrol. And, you know, we do our best to make sure that we put the right people in the right place, and sometimes things don't work out, but there's always a way to do it, and we did it respectfully, we did it legally, and that's the best way to do it.
Thanks for sharing that.
All right. Sometimes we hear frustration from residents that local government should be running more like a business in terms of being cost effective, particularly when tax base is mostly residential. Please share any strategies or programs you've managed or would propose to work in this direction.
Yeah, I mean, as far as you guys have a single rate, which is great for businesses that want to come into town. So, you know, I have been working with a split rate. So, you know, any businesses we brought in it was a significant difference. But unfortunately, even when you have businesses in the community, the value of property has grown so much on the residential side that's really created, even with a full 175 shift, you still end up with very large increases in people's property value. And, you know, it's by default. I mean, it's a formula that you can't change. Well, you could if you want to go to the legislature. They did it once back in, I don't know, 2005, 6, I think it was. They went to 200%. Then they Cinderella back to 175. But I think, you know, a way to alleviate some of the stress that you have in regards to taxes is to, you know, promote more economic growth and development, and businesses do that. And that's something that, you know, I spent 30 years running a small business as well while I was running through the different boards of government. As you know, I'm sure you guys have, you know, your regular jobs and then your other full-time job here. But so I think economic development, you know, Brookfield has a lot of opportunity, I think. You know, obviously there's water and sewer issues that would have to be addressed, but, you know, restaurants are great. I loved restaurants because we had a meals tax that we were able to capitalize on. But I think, you know, business growth, you know, we had one thing that is important though, is to make sure that the right businesses are coming in. You don't want to bring a business in that's not going to be valuable to the community. And we had Amazon, it was Amazon wanted to come to town, and I wanted life science, and we were able to get life science. It was through a lot of hard work, but I put a team together. So if you put together all of your staff members that are the stakeholders in the permitting process, it makes it a lot easier for businesses to do business with you, and all the answers are right there. So that's how we accomplished it. I think it would work in any community.
Number 8, why are you interested in working for our community? If you were chosen, what type of commitment are you willing to make in terms of how long you would work for the town of Brookfield?
Well, so I've been driving to Millbury. So
Wow.
I do live in Braintree. I've been driving to Millbury since 2024, private sector. But my passion is government, and I really miss it, and I love it. And you know, so when I saw the opportunity, that's when I applied. And I think that you know, it's when I was looking at all the different things that, you know, I could do for the town, it just seemed like a really good fit for me. You know, it's funny because I never, like, even though I was mayor, I always look back on our old form of government. That's how we refer to it. And it was a great time. It was probably one of the best times. And, you know, it was the purest of democracy, and things got done, and we all participated, and, you know, so I think that, just based on the area and having been in and around the area, my sister lives in North Grafton, so like, spent a lot of time there, but just the area itself is just beautiful, and it reminds me of when we were founded back in 1640. Our town changed so much, and I watched it as I grew up, not from 1640 though, but it was I really I miss the town form of government. An opportunity to be town administrator would be something that I'm situated for. So.
Do you have any questions that you would like to ask about the position, the community, or next steps in the hiring process?
Yeah, I mean, as far as, like, what do you guys see as your needs? What would you, like, obviously, everyone gives you a 90-day, this is what we're gonna do. I mean, they're probably very similar. But what do you see as, I've watched a few meetings, and I know that you guys did Gay Road, and you're doing all this great work. And by the way, I have to tell you, watching the meetings, you guys, it's amazing how much you guys do and participate, and, it's very impressive, and I like that because, that's the kind of energy that I have and I like to work with. So, yeah, I mean, as far as timing, I'm in private sector now, so I don't have to wait to make a decision. I've already talked with the owner. I came into the company to help them expand, and that's kind of what I've done over the last year and a half or two, whatever. But yeah, I mean, as far as what do you guys see as the most important thing that you want me to do day one? That would be my question. Like,
Well, I think the day-to-day operations are something that we would like off our plate for the most part, and someone to take care of the day-to-day, keep us informed of what's coming up, and hopefully you would work with our highway department and work with getting roads paved and resurfaced and things of that nature, but also work with the planning board to talk about possibilities of restructuring and bringing some business to town, as well as the Board of Health. We don't have town sewer. So another important thing is making sure the Board of Health takes advantage of any septic system repair grants or anything like that that would help the residents. It's certainly not the economic area that you're accustomed to. We're on the lower end here, and there's a lot of residents that could use help through private grants or septic repair grant loans, things of that nature. Through Pioneer Valley, they've done home renovation loans, things of that nature. So that would be great if you could work with a representative from Pioneer Valley, but there's also, there's other companies that do it, Central Mass Regional Planning.
Yep.
It's similar. So I see the role of the town administrator doing that, but also on a day-to-day, there's a lot of things that will come up. Every day is different, and when that occurs, you put it to bed, and then you wait for the next one. But it's really good if the town administrator could handle those issues so that the select board doesn't have. That's my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we have no highway superintendent. Of course, we've talked about it, so I would just say kind of getting that, finding somebody. We've had applicants, and hopefully we're gonna interview somebody down the line, but kind of getting that in check. We're currently in the middle of police negotiations, and Blythe has been helping us with that, so getting us to the finish line with that if she can. We currently had an HR, don't have an HR, went to a firm for a treasurer, now we have Mary. So just kind of cleaning up the backside of that. And really number one thing is communication. We all said it in the last interview too, and I feel like we lack not day-to-day communication. And Blythe has done a good job of doing the weekly updates and kind of keeping us in check and making her own decisions, but still keeping us in line. So I kind of just say like carrying out that and trying to getting us in communication with all of the department heads and all of us on the same page. That way we can get the positions filled and get people to work.
So I think one of the primary focuses needs to be just straight baseline establishing a professional, respectful work environment. That means that the employees that are here know what they need to do. Most of them are very experienced. They know what they need to do, but that it's recognized, right? And that times when there's problems or obstacles or some sort of lack of communication between departments or something's causing friction, that there's a kind of a cool head in-house to make sure everybody stays aligned on delivering what they need to deliver to the townspeople. And just, you know, having that experience and knowledge to do the staffing and rebuilding. I think one of the biggest struggles that all the small towns, rural towns are experiencing right now is a lack of a bench and a lack of a talent pipeline. And a failure to really encourage and advertise what municipal jobs can offer back to the people who fill them, to the point where you can't find a treasurer for love or money, right? Even the accounting firms, you know, you can't even get a firm in and you certainly can't afford them, right? We're very fortunate in our recent assistant assessor search that we found somebody that is, you know, somebody who's interested in being at the other end of the career path of getting involved in municipal government. And it's relatively early career. Learning how to mentor talent and attract and set an environment so that we become a employer of choice for people that are considered municipal work, whether it's in highway, whether it's in one of the office roles. I think we have a lot of work to do to get there, but I think it's possible.
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny. We had, what we did is obviously we had COVID happen when we got in office, and we have a golf course. So we had we put together a day for everyone. Everyone got out of work at 1 o'clock instead of 4:30, and everyone went to the golf course, and we had food and everything set up for them. And then if they wanted to golf, it was like $30. If they didn't want to golf, they could leave. But it was kind of like a thank you for all that they did during COVID, because it was a really difficult time. But we also had some cool stuff. We did door decorating during Halloween. We had a contest. So each department, it was, and I remember telling this story to the search committee. It was really great about it, is we had an employee that literally was in the basement of town hall in the far corner in a position that wasn't popular. She had to tell a lot of people no. And when we did the door decorating, we also did like a cook-off. We did a bunch of stuff. So we had a whole bunch of team building type things we did within the town hall. And it was amazing. She came up, she cooked, she was in that cook-off, and everything was a contest. I supplied like gift cards for folks, but she hung out and talked to like people that would never talk to each other, and they got to see it on the side of each other. So it was really, it's little things like that that kind of create bonding and stuff. So it's definitely an important factor. And I think a lot of it came from my private sector stuff and mixed in with the public sector stuff, but yeah, it's important. But
So the last question, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make?
yeah, I mean, it's interesting, I don't think that I would have ever applied for a job in Brookfield, Mass, a year ago, or I don't know, a year and a half ago, whatever. let's say January of 2024 when I left office. I probably wouldn't have, I was looking at Holbrook and local towns, and then, because I wanted a smaller town. But, by the grace of God, I ended up in Millbury every day and coming out here, and then it's funny because what happened was, working in Millbury every day and doing the commute, once you kind of get used to it, you get used to it. And it was something new and different, but I took a liking to it. And it was interesting because a former next door neighbor's son, who kind of grew up in our house, got married in Brimfield at some mansion house, some tennis player guy's house, whatever, I don't know. They stayed there and they got married, and he asked me to do the ceremony. So it's just funny because, driving through Sturbridge, and we stayed in Sturbridge, and driving through Brentfield, and everything's like right in this area. So it was, maybe it was meant to be, maybe that's why I ended up here. But I certainly think that you have great potential and you have a great talent, and I like, I look at the board and all the hard work that you guys do, and I respect that. I think that that's the most important thing to me, is making sure that I'm working with people that I think are great. So absolutely.
Thank you very
And
much.
Blythe is great too. You are. She's, yeah. But, yeah.
All right, we have one more interview tomorrow.
Okay.
One of the candidates backed out, and then hopefully we're gonna make our decision tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we'll let
Well,
you know.
Thank you so
And you
much for
can
your
watch
time.
us too.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
you.
It's a pleasure. And I'll probably will try to find a place closer. I mean, my sister lives in North Grafton, it's because basically it would be 3 nights, mandatorily 3 nights a week, because the 4th night I'd go home. But I do anticipate, obviously going to meetings and all that stuff. So I mean, I never worked less than, people would see the light on at town hall all the time, and they're like, do you ever go home? And it's just my nature. Once I get into it, I don't stop until things are done. So,
All right,
all right.
appreciate that.
Well, thank you guys so much. and,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You guys have a great night. Blythe,
You
it's good
too.
seeing you. Bye. Take care.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Pass out, I emailed this all to you.
Feel it last.
If anyone likes paper instead. This is the police negotiation information that they're working on, just so you can digest it when you have a chance. And then if there's questions or anything, I'll like it. It's all the options are affordable. Yes, of course, not right now, like I said, I got an email that it's a bigger job. Anything else we need for tomorrow night?
No, we'll just start late.
Well, we start at 6, no, yeah, Ryan is to move to 6 o'clock.
Oh, you want to move?
Yeah, I asked Karen to move him so that we didn't end up, you're scheduled for 7. You're scheduled to start at
Okay.
6.